This is Mike Einspar, and this is my understanding my community with the West Franklin School District in Pomona, Kansas. Currently, USD 287's initial consolidation was in 1960. It involved three communities, the Appanoose, the Pomona, and the Williamsburg school system. And then in 1967, the Appanoose and the Pomona school districts decided to combine. They put the elementary and the high school in Pomona, and they put the junior high / middle school out at Appanoose. And then in 2007, all three communities decide to combine to make West Franklin. So currently, there's elementaries in Williamsburg and Appanoose, and the middle school and high school are housed in Pomona. In 2018, we passed our first ever bond for facilities improvements to help with a new gym, track, football field, safety concerns with it, both elementaries and at the high school, and to increase our industrial technology areas for ag and woods. We have very few community traditions since we are so spread out between three towns. Williamsburg still does keep their Jayhawker days intact, and probably the PTO chili feed in Appanoose is always a big hit. Other than that, probably the two biggest things in our community would be the homecoming parade in Pomona, and then of course prom is always a huge issue. In the fall, we have a block party. Really, it's the opening of school where all three towns come together at the high school, and they have games and whatnot for the community. And then in the spring, we take one day with the faculty and the staff and the students, and we go throughout the entire community, and we do a neighborhood cleanup day. Our population consists of, most of our staff have bachelor's degrees. We have a few with master's degree and one working on his PhD. We have a very wide variety of teachers. We have a few teachers right out of college who are coming in with little to no experience, and we have teachers with 40 plus years of experience. And we have the gamut in between. Teachers here seem to like it here and not want to leave. The community is always positive, and the teachers have a lot of energy, which is fun to be with. One of the issues that we have here at West Franklin is a housing issue. With three small communities, there's not a lot of available housing, so a lot of our faculty and staff live in outlying communities and they commute every day. We have roughly 341 males and 303 females in our pre-K through 12 facilities. That's at 3 campuses. Our patrons are employed in a variety of fields, number one being the agricultural. A lot of our families are farmers or work for farms or the cattle industry. And if they don't work for the school system or in the ag industry, they usually are commuting to Topeka, Lawrence, Kansas City, Emporia for jobs. We have a very strong Caucasian makeup within our district, 93%. The other 7% is made up of Hispanic American Indian, African American, Pacific Islander. One of the biggest percentages in our district is 48% of our kids are on free and reduced lunches, which is a huge number. We use several different Facebook pages for communication to get information out to our patrons. Both elementaries and the high school all have Facebook pages. I know a lot of the athletic pages, teams have their own page to get messages out. We use a school messenger, which is a phone system where, if we want to get a message out, whether it be school being closed or something very important, we use a school messaging service. Other than that, we use our district website, which is always up to date with the school board minutes, any recent activities are going on for the week, and we do email quite frequently. Our patrons tend to use the Kansas City and Topeka media markets. We're a little far away from Wichita, but television, radio, and newspapers is basically the Kansas City and Topeka newspapers. We do have one local radio and newspaper in Ottawa that a lot of people use for just real local stuff. English is our main language. We don't have any ESOL students currently enrolled at West Franklin. We have a very limited number of groups within the community outside of the school. A lot of them are really associated with the school. We have a pretty strong PTO in each grade school that one has a chili cook-off and one has like a circus day, and they raise some money and do a good job of supplementing our funds in our elementary for things that we need. Our booster club services all groups, not just athletics, which includes band, FFA, FCCLA, and they even give scholarships to seniors when they leave. So they do a good job of supporting the entire community. The most visible group is probably our school board and our rec commission. Both of those are always out and about in the community. And then probably the biggest group that I've seen since I've been here would be the bond committee. We had the bond pass in June of this year, and we had a committee that went out and really visited with the patrons to explain the facility upgrades that we needed and try to get information to them. And there was, obviously a community for the bond, a committee against the bond, but those were very visible within our community. All of them really cooperate with our school. Like I said, the PTO, the Rec Commission, and the Booster Club offer scholarships to seniors. And the really only problematic group that was that I see within this community, we don't really have political groups that are outspoken. But within the bond, there was a group for the bond that really wants the upgrade, keep our community up to date. And then there was the group that did not want the bond to pass. And those were generally the patrons who do not have kids in school, were more concerned about their taxes going up, and less about our school improvement. Our leadership at school is very simple. We have a small school district. We don't have a lot of levels of bureaucracy. We have our school board, our superintendent, and our principals. We have 3 campuses where there's a principal on each campus, and at the high school, middle school, we do have an assistant principal. The people who are influenced are our teachers, our students, and our patrons, are influenced by our leaders. Mainly in good ways. I've not seen any bad leadership or bad influences going on. We don't have any outside groups that really seek political influence by any of our leadership. We have a limited number of leaders outside of the school with a small community. Appanoose is really just an area. It's no longer a town. But we do have our rec commission, and the leaders of those rec commissions are very visible. And they can be vocal leaders if need be. We do have a mayor of Pomona and Williamsburg who are very involved in the school system in our communities and are easily acceptable and very, very pleasant to deal with. Probably the biggest one we have is Mr. Smith, our principal, who also sits on the city council of Pomona, has been in the district for 20 plus years, and is really good about knowing the different families and being able to talk to people within the community. One of the greatest things we have here is our unofficial leaders. We have some lifelong West Franklin people, whether they're from Appanoose, Pomona, or Williamsburg, who kind of have the ear of the community that you're able to talk to, and they're really non-leader, official leader roles. They might be a person at the coffee shop or Casey's or wherever that you can visit with that has the ear of the community. Our economic condition in West Franklin School District is probably not a whole lot different than the counties around us. We have a very small unemployment rate. Our median income is a little over $50,000, and our median home value is a little over $100,000. Our community has very few retail businesses. The only 2 really major ones that would be recognized would be the Dollar General and Casey's General Store. Most of our businesses are small mom and type businesses that really support our community. Most of them are in the restaurant or mechanic type business, small service type business that really benefit our community. Most of our families that are not involved in agricultural work in such communities like Topeka, Lawrence, Ottawa, Emporia, Kansas City, those are ones who are not involved in ag, generally commute to those. Our political structure is made up of 7 board members. We have 2 from each of the 3 communities, with 1 being at large. Our board members can have pressure put on them from the people they represent. The most recent would be the bond issue, whether they were for it or against it. That's probably the biggest political pressure that we have. As far as national political pressure, we really don't have anything like that here at West Franklin. Being a small rural community, we don't have a lot of real social tensions to speak of. The occasional tensions between kids that are friends, but other than national or major tensions, we don't have that. Most of our students participate in multiple events, whether it be athletics and band or one of the F clubs. We have quite a few students that are involved in the National Honor Society. Most of our students tend to friend each other regardless of their economic status or where they live. We have a lot of town kids that are friends with the farm kids, and athletes involved with non-athletes. And one thing I really like about our area is that our kids really seem to take new kids in and kids with disabilities in and make them feel like they're part of our community. We don't have a whole lot of extra sources of information. The main one would be the Franklin County website, where you could get on to look at things that you need to know outside of the school system. But to be honest, our school website supplies everything we need to know for our school system, whether it be school board minutes, demographics, grades for the parents, whatnot. Those are really our two main sources of information. Our power structure is very simple. We have our school board. We have a superintendent, principal, one assistant principal, athletic director, and then teachers. Mr. Turner, our superintendent, holds an open door policy with all of our patrons and faculty and staff. There is no assistant superintendent, so he handles all cases at the district level, and from there the principals handle cases that deal with the building issues, and it filters down from there. The athletic director deals with athletic issues, and teachers and coaches are allowed to teach and coach within their personnel as long as it fits within the school board policy. Multicultural issues. We have a very high poverty rate that has minimal access to technology. So one of our cultural issues that we really do a good job of taking care of is we supply all of our kids with a one-to-one initiative at school so that they can have access to a digital age technology. We have a lot of kids that probably can't afford a computer or internet at home, so at least at school they have the ability to do that. The majority of our students are from West Franklin with a limited area of exposure in other cultures. And so, we do the traditional Cinco de Mayo with, in May, but really minimal cultural issues. That's one area that we need to probably increase is our awareness of cultures outside of our own little area of Kansas. We don't have uniforms, but we do have a dress codes concerning any apparel that would violate sexual content, drugs, alcohol, violence, or hate crimes. Our power structure is very similar to most places in the state of Kansas. We have our state legislature, which filters down to the State Board of Education, our school board, superintendent, administration, and faculty. Information is shared with all patrons, and input is accepted from patrons. Any information that is needed to be out there is on our school board website. And if there's any questions, you can always just call the superintendent. He's glad to talk with you. Decisions are always based on within the law and the school board policy are made on the well-being of the student and within the financial structure at that time. We don't have a lot of ways out there to go out and measure our public opinion. We don't have a current survey right now. In the last year and a half with the bond issue, the community organized a 20-plus member to collect ideas and thoughts for the bond election process and ways that when we passed a bond, if we passed a bond, that we could use those funds to improve our school system. Other than that, most people find out things from the social media, our open door policy, or just informal visits, whether it's at the school or walking down the street. At this time, we currently do not have any general opinion surveys that are out there where we're gathering information on our patrons. The biggest one during the last year and a half was during the bond election process. We had a lot of surveys out there that really gave a good idea where people were at, what their feelings were towards the school at all three campuses, and any updates that they wanted to make or how we could improve our community through the school system. And that is my presentation on my community relations. Thank you.